Sorry, I hope you guys trying to make sure everything is in. Bear with me while you guys are getting in. I'm trying to make sure I can get comments on Instagram Live on my phone, so bear with me. I'm still figuring this one out. Bear with me, bear with me. Hi, guys. All right, I'm seeing some of you jump on Instagram. Hi, guys. Diane Devereaux, the Canning Diva. Bear with me. Trying to make sure I can get this to work right. Okay, let me see. I think I can toggle back and forth between the two. Can you guys hear me? Kind of give me a thumbs up, or of course, drop your name and where you're from in the comments. I just want to make sure the only comments that don't come into the software when you have questions or comments is Instagram. We can go live together, but I want to make sure I'm not missing your questions, because I know last week I missed a few. Okay. I don't see any, so hopefully you guys can hear me. Okay, we'll give it just another minute here while people are coming on in. Okay. I'm excited. Hey guys, thanks for joining me. All right. I'm going to assume I can toggle back and forth. And if I miss anything, let's see here. I guess the only way to do it would be, I got 3 comments. All right. Sounds great. Good deal. He does. Hey there. Hi. Hi, Danny. First time on Facebook Live. Welcome. You hear me good. All right. Awesome. From Minnesota. Welcome. You were my neighbor. Now I am in sunny Florida. So I am missing out on the snow this year, and I'm okay with that. All right. I will try to remember to toggle back and forth to Instagram. I know that when we do this live on Twitter and YouTube, everything will stream in here. So that's kind of cool. But Instagram won't. So I hope I don't miss you. And hey, from Allendale. All right. Hey, yeah, you were definitely my neighbor. Excuse me. I also, it's kind of funny, like, I'm happy we're doing these Thursday night lives, but it's funny. I was grabbing, because again, as usual, I run out of time. I don't get a chance to eat before we get together. And I pulled from my pantry some chicken soup, which, you know, I need to get over to my cousins as well. I feel like with the temperature change down here, even though it's still nice and it's sunny, it's cooler. And we all know with bacteria, it's going to grow fastest, you know, once it cools down, and a lot of people are sick. I'm not sick, knock on wood, not sick, but I'm just feeling run down. So I'm going to have myself some chicken soup tonight. If we don't have a lot of questions, Danny, yeah, it's cool. If we don't have a lot of questions, no worries. I create reels. I let the show that is live be recorded and filmed and available later. So you can always ask questions even after the fact. So if you can only hop on for a short period of time, not to worry. I'm going to be doing these every Thursday, with the exception of next week, because that is Thanksgiving. So I will be wishing all of you a happy Thanksgiving when we wrap up today, because I will not be on next week, but then we'll resume the following. Okay. And let me just see if there's anything else I need over on Instagram, because we want to get started. Nice job, guys. We got lots in there. All right. Also tonight, we are going to announce the winners, 2 winners of the Meals in a Jar. Oh, geez, I need 3 hands. Meals in a Jar and Beginner Guide to Canning signed copies with the 2026 My Gardening Canning Planner. 2 lucky winners will be winning this book set. And I'm excited to announce that tonight on the show, but also I will make a post. So that way I can get in touch with the 2 winners. So I'm super excited. All right. So I have that. And then tonight I thought I'd change it up a bit. I still want your canning and preserving questions. Don't think that I'm not willing to talk about those things, but I thought we'd have some fun and talk a little bit more of the preparedness and survival side. I was talking with somebody at prepper camp this past September, bugging in, bugging out. You know, we all have different ideas and thoughts. You know, truly, I want to stay in if that is where the situation is headed. But I also know there's times my dog is drinking water. Oh, Bentley. He's so pretty and so loud and thirsty. I don't know if you guys, if the mic is picking that up. But you know, if I'm in my truck, that came about in one of our conversations. And if I'm driving from point A to point B and getting caught unawares and God knows what, I have my bag that I keep with me in the truck. We were gonna talk about that tonight. I was gonna pull some items out to give you an idea of what I do. I also, because I've moved, right? Some of the items have changed. So if I was up in the northern region and I'm hitting snow, I would have some items in here for what? Warmth. I took a few of those things out because I may not need as much as what I've had, but we'll go through that here in a few minutes. And then also, I want to let you know that speaking of dogs, and Bentley, my Bentley boy, my golden retriever, he is famous now. He is on the cover of my book, Preserving for Your Pets. So I will be launching the information on where to go. You can go now if you're interested. It's on Amazon. I'm waiting for Amazon to put it in my author portfolio, but it is available on Amazon as an ebook. And hopefully by next week before Thanksgiving, the print version will also be available. So you'll have 2 options, but it's primarily focusing on cats and dogs. A lot of what you're seeing in there is what I do in my family, my fur family. And I just thought it'd be a really nice tool for you to have in your canning and preserving arsenal, especially as we get into the holidays. So Bentley made me think of that when he was drinking out of his water bowl. All right. So can you say happy birthday to my dad? His name is Mike Oxlong. I most certainly can. Happy birthday, Mike. I wish you lots of blessings, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful birthday. Happy to do that shout out. Mike Oxlong. All right. How old? Come on. That's the fun part, huh? How many years are we talking? I would love to know. My mom would have been 84 this past October. Crazy. It's now a heavenly birthday, right? So if you're on earth celebrating, many, many more wonderful years to you. All right. So I'm going to get into the winners here in just a few minutes, but I want to talk just a little bit more about why I did this. Obviously, you don't have to do a lot of long trips. This could just be for an everyday situation scenario. So some things that you're not going to see in here, because this is meant to be small and compact. But in my truck, I do have water, and I rotate that water out. Now back home in Michigan, I would rotate it out every 3 months. Now that it's cooler here in Florida, I'll go back to probably a 2 to 3 month rotation. But in the heat of the summer, because it's in plastic, I rotate that out monthly, every month, excuse me. Because what happens to the plastic when it gets exposed to really high temperatures, especially in our vehicles that become like little mini pressure cookers. I don't want to have much more than the H2O being consumed, and I don't want all the the plastic breaking down and consuming that, especially if I'm in an emergency situation where, you know, my stress level's high. That means my immune system can take a dip. I need to stay healthy. So one of the things that I always talk about is water. And because it's not here, but in the vehicle, I have a way in which I can place it into something that's going to stay cool. It's stainless steel. I don't also have to worry about bacterial. And it fits nicely on the side here, as you can see. Actually, I should probably stand that up for you. But I also, and God forbid, if let's say I'm in an accident and I'm out in the country somewhere, or I'm in some unknown area and it's wilderness. I mean, I don't want to like Hollywoodize this and think of like everything that could go wrong, because we could drive ourselves crazy. But I do want to think that in the event I don't have access to bottled water, or I drank what I had in the vehicle, okay? Or God forbid, you know, I thought I swapped it out. I thought I put it in there and I didn't. And now I need to have access to fresh water. But how am I going to go about doing that and being safe? And I'm not opening this one. I'm leaving this one until, God forbid, I need to use it. But it's a water straw. I don't know if you guys have seen these before. Jot that down. I highly recommend. I did open this one. Oh yeah, highly recommend it being purchased and placed not only in your vehicle's, you know, bag or your bug out bag or your camping gear, but this will purify any open source water. So a creek, a stream. God forbid I got to drink out of a dirty puddle. I hope that's not the case, but if it is, the emergency survival water straw, it's by Practical Survival. I highly recommend that in all of your gear. I have multiple ones, obviously, and this one goes in my truck bag. Is she in space? I don't understand your question. Okay, not sure what your question is, so feel free to jot that question down. Trying to not miss anyone in Instagram. All right, so if you guys have any comments, you have to put it directly into the comments section in Instagram, and then I'll kind of pop back and forth. All right, so water is primarily the first thing I emphasize, and the bag is meant to be kind of like that survival pack. Make sure you have water, whether it's in your bag or in your vehicle. We can go without food. We cannot go without water. Speaking of food, sometimes it depends on how often I have to rotate my stuff. Sometimes I'll have dehydrated or personal freeze-dried meals. Other times I will purchase. I picked these up while I was at prepper camp. My neighbors across the street were selling some handy dandy freeze-dried food where you pretty much can just add water. I keep a few of those in there because I don't know what I'm going to be facing. If I am in a situation where I have to do any cooking, I also have the collapsible folding stove, and I also have a heat source. You'll also see, I wish I had like a way to shove the camera in there, but garbage bags are essential. They're not just to keep trash. They can also keep you dry. You can turn a large garbage bag into a poncho. If you don't have a poncho, a large garbage bag will work. I also encourage you to, now this is just what I do, but your heat supply. So I have heat supply, but I also have plastic utensils. So if I am having to eat this, right? I mean, I guess I could eat it with my hands, but we have to be sanitary, especially when we're in a disaster situation. The other stuff, I do have a dry bag in here. I do have my heat source. I do have a flint in here. It's in the top pack, and I don't mind using that, but I'd rather have a lighter. And I choose the lighter that I can get into nooks and crannies and crevices. Now in my bug out bag that's here in the house, I have a separate stove setup. Basically, it can power electronics. I can create the fire from wood. And then it has the stovetop area on the top. So it's it's bigger, which is why it's in the bug out bag. This is meant to be small and compact. So I'm just trying to think, I got to get through a night or through a day before, God forbid, somebody either stumbles upon me, or I can get a signal, or if I'm injured, right? I've got to hunker down. I'm just trying to think of things and show you, where my thought process is for the vehicle survival bag. I do have a dry bag in here too. I have several of them and I use them whether I'm camping, bug in, bug out. That's what preparedness is. I want to be prepared for anything. If I had to ditch this backpack and this dry bag was the only thing that I could, utilize for whatever situation, whatever reason, at least everything's going to remain dry. Just thinking out loud there. Sorry. Hopefully you guys can hear me while I'm rustling around. I spoke about food. I spoke about water, heat, staying dry. Okay. These are just the small random items, but the two other areas that are huge, hygiene. I've mentioned that twice. So you're going to see here. It's so funny. I love how perfectly I have it packed. And now I'm going to tear it all apart for you guys. And then when we are done with the live, I'm going to be like, oh, how did I have all this in there? But I'll show you in the front pocket. I have everything I need to make sure that if I injure myself, I have wound care. God forbid I sprain an ankle. Soap, Kleenex, and then here's where I told you I dropped down. I don't need many of the heat elements per se. Granted, it has been getting cold here at night. So this Mylar blanket will also be visible to those if I'm, using it as a way to, hey, I'm trapped. But it also can trap the heat, and you can use that while you're creating a heat source, whether you're, digging a hole in the ground or you're keeping yourself small and not seen. There could be reasons for that too. And then I have two of those in here, and then I do have two of my, so if I did need to do some cooking or boiling of the water, what if I broke the water straw? Or if you have a bag already, but you don't have a water straw in it, and you need to have access to clean water, boiling. Now you notice I don't have a pot in here. That's because I'm going to more than likely utilize my stainless steel and then eat right out of the bag. My bug out bag does have a pot and a pan, and I think a couple wooden spoons. I hope you guys can hear me when I walk on this side. Okay, so this is your cleanliness. You definitely need, I've got Neosporin in there. I also have a small suture kit, so if God forbid I have to suture a wound. And you saw the ace bandage. That's about the max I can fit in here. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Do you have any questions too? I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. And then the top, because, I drove across the country a couple times now. And yes, obviously when you're preparing for a trip, you have a lot more stuff. But I've also thought to myself, well, my goodness, if I'm in an area I don't know, I need to have a compass. Hopefully you guys can see me because I was standing right in front of the camera. Still learning this flow here, but not only a compass, but obviously rope. This is going to fit on my wrist, and I don't know if you guys can see that from here, but I also have a cutting tool. I do also have a light source, and one thing I've got to share with you guys, I use a headlamp instead of a handheld flashlight. If you have these bags made in advance so that you're prepared, you've got to think about the life of the batteries. So those may need to be swapped out, just as I think about rotating the water source in the truck. That has to be swapped out. Anything that needs to be swapped out, even your freeze-dried food has an expiration date. If you've had your bag for 15 years, check that date. Believe it or not, it can last a while, but you don't want to be eating food that's lost its nutritional value when you need it most. And then, like I shared, I do have my other flint. I have some fire starters just in case, I lose that lighter, or again, you got to maybe even swap those out over time, right? The fuel over time, hot, cold, that expansion and contraction, I'd hate to have that be my only source of fire and it doesn't work when I need it most. So I do have multiple sources. And then obviously, as you can see here, I have a very large knife if I have to clear brush, or even if I have to cut down, dead branches or defend myself. I also have a smaller knife. And then you have to think about, and this was a huge benefit to me in my background in disaster management. You have to find things also to keep your mind busy. Yes, you're going to be busy doing things if you have to set up, God forbid, a little campsite for the night because you are stuck, stranded, what have you. But you need to keep your mind going, and, a deck of cards. You more than likely aren't going to have access to a cell phone if you're stuck, right? Because otherwise we would just call our AAA or whatever. If you have your cell phone and you have no signal, you don't want to wear out that battery by playing a bunch of your Candy Crush games. So think of things, especially if you have young children. Coloring book and crayon will fit perfectly, or markers. Coloring book and markers, paper and pencil. You could create fun games. We used to play hangman and tic-tac-toe. Find things that, will help and be age appropriate, because you got to keep your mind focused on more than just the trouble, especially children. They need to be given tasks to do, but it's okay for them to just, have a little bit of fun and think of something else, especially if it's pretty dangerous. All right. Danny, awesome. Hey, Emily, good. You can hear me. Thanks. Okay, so let's see here. I need to get my glasses. I can't see nothing. Okay, I have a question. I make my own smoked salt, which is just sea salt mixed with liquid smoke. Natural hickory smoke flavor. Yep. Then I cook off the moisture in the frying pan. My question is, can I use that in place of plain salt when I can meat? Excellent question, Danny. And I love that you do that. I have some smoked salt as well. It's delicious. It really enhances the flavor, and I'm really happy you asked. The only time you need to worry about salt ratio and type is when you're pickling. So if you want to use your homemade salt, especially because you love that smoky flavor, when you're canning meat, vegetables, meals in a jar, you may do so. We're not adding that salt to the meat for anything other than flavor. That's why I tell people a lot of times you may omit it altogether. The smoked salt I like using as a topper. You may use yours however you see fit. And you don't have to use canning and preserving salt unless you're pickling. So even if you have, like I have some, I like Himalayan for flavor. I use Celtic for the trace minerals, but I do have some really delicious salt from like Hawaii. I have some from, I've got several from Hawaii. I have black, and I do have, it's a rose colored. I forgot the name of it. I'm looking over at my spice cabinet because I'm like ready to go grab them all. I love using those for meal toppers, but if I wanted to enhance the flavor of a recipe, like for instance, any of the recipes in Meals in a Jar, absolutely. Knock yourself out, and you're going to be thankful you did because you're now enhancing the flavor of that meat. So good question. Let's see here. Emily, something you can pack in a bag is dryer lint for starting a fire. Excellent. Yes, Emily, you may do so. I had my little tissues in there, and of course, with some of my skill sets, I am capable of gathering things from around. But let's say we're stuck. Well, I'm in Florida; it can rain a lot. If I'm in an area where I know it's going to be wet, Michigan can rain a lot. You know, you do want some dry fire starters. So excellent point, Emily. Let's see here. Oh, going back to hydration. And I rotate these out as well. I always keep a couple liquid IVs. I know there's a lot of brands out there, so I'm not being brand specific by any means, but I want to make sure that I have electrolytes within me, especially if I have a limited amount of water. So I always keep a couple of these in here too. And I just think that that is, wise to do. It could be Pedialyte powder. It doesn't have to be liquid IV, but anything with those salts to help you retain as much water as possible is going to be helpful in a tricky situation like that. Oh, hang on. Sorry, guys. You guys are excellent question. Let's see here. Angie, I have a large pill bottle, which I put here. Sorry, Angie. And forgive me for those of you that are vertical. StreamYard has just made it horizontal and vertical, and they can do them both at the same time. And now I have to relearn where to stand and where to look. So if I keep going out of the frame, guys, I'm so sorry. Bear with me. But okay, so Angie, let's see here. I have a large pill bottle, which I use. I put a striker in the inside lid. Yep. Waterproof matches, dryer lint for starter, fish hooks and weights wrapped in fishing line. Excellent. And I would make a couple of those, one for your bug out bag, and one for your vehicle survival bag. Absolutely perfect. And then Kimberly, could you pack plain charcoal in your bag for filtering water or for a fire? Yes, but you have to have the system set up so it can drain through it. So, boy, I guess I should have done this. I knew I should have brought my bug out bag into this conversation because now I want to show you one of the tools I have, Kimberly. Well, it is a UV water purifier, and it has, so you can put it on your belt loop. It's relatively small. It's glass, so it's in a protective sheath, and you could also have one of those in your vehicle. It's compact. You are going to have to make sure your batteries stay up to snuff, okay? But I would go more that route. Being out on the road, it opens us up to so many more variables. So many more conditions that we may not be able to control. And depending on if you're injured or lost or in hellacious environment, you might not be able to utilize some of the items that had you stayed in or had to bug out, and now you're prepared because you're carrying a larger bag. You're more ready. Right? I know that's not proper grammar, but the UV light, if you were to say, for instance, you've got the stainless steel or even plastic, you'd have to cut the top of the plastic bottle off, but you turn that UV light on, you stir it 30 seconds clockwise, then 30 seconds counterclockwise, and it will kill all fungi, bacteria, and parasite in the water using the blue UV light. Take a look at that. If we get time, what I'll do is I'll answer your questions. I'll show you the last 2 items in my vehicle survival bag. And then I'll announce the winners. And then if you're interested, I'll go grab my big old bug out bag, and I will show that to you and give you the brand name, because I do not remember the brand name off the top of my head. I would still consider putting it in there, because if you're in an area where you can use sand and charcoal and you have the ability to create that filtration system, do it. Just think of that when you're packing it in there on how you're going to be able to utilize it. Okay. Oh, good, Danny. I'm glad you're happy to hear that. Your wife and I, oh, you have the book as well. Awesome. I'm so happy. Good. Then yes, use your homemade smoked salts. All right, Emily, if you happen to go hiking, here, let me share this with everybody. You guys have some good stuff. If you happen to go hiking and take, sorry, I need a magnifying glass, and like to pack for possible emergencies, bring a book about medicinal wild plants, or educate yourself on first aid medicinal wild plants, absolutely, for the products that had been packed. Excellent point, Emily. And for those of you who need a source, I'm going to share my screen with you. I have some resources. How are we doing over here on Instagram, guys? I'm not avoiding you. I'm checking. I don't see any questions, so we should be okay. Let's see. I'm going to show you on my website. I'll share my screen in just a second. One of my old counterparts back in West Michigan, we did some press together and stumbled upon each other. And I think at one point we even had the same PR firm. And Lisa Rose is her name. I got to know her a little bit back when I started the Canning Diva. And since we met, she has written several books based on either the hemisphere or the area. And the one I'm going to share with you here, let me get this up. Let me share my screen. Give me just a second. Okay. Share screen, bear with me. Here we go. Okay. So this particular book on my website is for the Midwest, but I've noticed she has done other areas throughout the country. Those of you in other countries, you can just mirror, or you might even have access to a similar resource by one of your local authors. But this is identifying, harvesting, and using 109 wild herbs for health and wellness. So this is a good book I have in my arsenal. There are some things I have just been able to learn over the years. But this book in particular, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, North and South Dakota, Ohio, and Wisconsin. So what she's sharing with you has quite a bit of value. Even, did I share that? Did you guys see that? I do this every time. Did I hit share screen and miss something? I have to add it to the stage. Sorry, guys. I'm still getting used to this software. Well, everything I just said, let me just show you the book title or the book cover. So sorry. Midwest Medicinal Plants. It's by Lisa M. Rose. And it's 109 wild herbs, whether it's health, wellness, and as Emily was pointing out, this book would be phenomenal in the event you have to forage. Okay, so that's just one. She has wrote others for other regions and areas, so I would look her up. I think she's also on Amazon, Lisa M. Rose. And like one of the things that I remember being taught as a kid is lamb's ear. I mean, it grows everywhere. It's quite intrusive. Once you get it in your yard, it's pretty hard to get rid of. Before you know it, lamb's ear is growing in your flower beds. That is excellent to use as toilet paper. out in the wild. So one thing I don't have in here is toilet paper, but I know I can do that. And I also have some Kleenex. So I feel like I'm covered. But now that I'm in Florida, I'm relearning what I would be able to forage down here. So maybe some TP in my bag for until I get more knowledge of the local herbs and plants down here. I should probably add that. So thanks, Emily. Okay, let me see. Meals in a jar for my grown grandson. This is Cindy. I think it's Cindy. What did she say here? She did meals in a jar for her grandson for Christmas. He loved all of them, and I plan on doing them again this year. Oh, I love hearing that. That is awesome. It truly makes amazing gifts. I have gone to the dollar store and I've purchased like wicker baskets, and the Dollar General have like $5 fluffy cozy blankets. I've put that in there, and I've layered it with loads of jars of my either meals or salsa or jams and jellies, and I have given those as gifts, and they're so well received. So well done on that. I'm really happy you did that, and I'm happy he enjoyed them. Tell him thank you. Oh, there's no set subject. You don't ever apologize. I am thankful you're here. And no, there's never a set topic. Well, I should say that. We have a set topic. Do we always stick with it? No, because the beautiful thing about engaging together, when you ask questions, it could take us into a different area. Totally fine. And I want to read your comments and questions. So nope, no apologies necessary. All right, I'm in the mountains. All right, Harley. I'm in the mountains at 2,700 feet above sea level, and we've never canned before. What corrections or measurements should I use for my new All-American canner? Awesome on the All-American. I'm so excited for you to have that. As far as, what are you at? So correction, nothing. Okay. So what, you don't have to modify anything other than increasing your pressure. PSI equivocates to temperature. And because when you're in a higher elevation, it takes longer to get to that boiling point, you have to now process everything at 15 PSI. So you have an All-American that has a weighted gauge and a dial gauge. So you just use the 15-pound weight. You don't have to change the recipe. In West Virginia, is that Jordan? Let me see. No, Harley Piper. Let's see here. So you have in the back of your book, you have a elevation guide. Most of your, if not all, canning books are going to give you what that needs to be translated as. So it's not necessarily a correction that needs to be made. What you need to do is know your elevation, which you know. Every recipe is written at 0 sea level, no height. So that's why you're going to see every recipe say process at 10 PSI or according to your elevation and canner type. So now you know based on where you live, it's 15 PSI. A suggestion I do have for things like water bathing pie filling or pressure canning spaghetti sauce in your All-American, give it generous headspace. It's going to get active. It's going to be moving around at 15 PSI. And so to avoid excess siphoning, which means you're going to have the food leaving the jar possibly, giving it a little extra headspace so that it has room for those molecules to swell and move and be active is going to be a good tip that you'll thank me for later. But excellent question. Mikey. All right, Mikey. All right. Welcome, Harley Piper. Mr. Mikey. All right. Anything over on Instagram? I'm not leaving you guys out. Nope. All right. Cool. So keep the questions coming. I can go back and forth. This vehicle survival kit bag, I call it sometimes my truck bug-in bag because I'm in my truck. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Okay. Think ahead of the areas in which you travel, the patterns and routes in which you travel. If you're making a big trip, obviously that changes everything. And so you might even be wanting to bring your bug out bag with you because you know you have everything in it. I mean, these are all decisions you have to make. It depends on type of terrain. Are you urban? Are you out in the country? Are you in a city dweller? Also, any dietary or medicinal things that you have to think about from a survival standpoint. If you're an asthmatic, and an inhaler is a common thing in your purse or your car. Like, what if you're a guy, you have a backpack. If you are allergic to bees, and having your EpiPen in your survival bag, or just some extra Benadryl, right? Okay. So think of how you live and what you need in an emergency, or if God forbid you had to hunker down in your vehicle for 24 to 72 hours. Okay. So those are the things that are very specific and relative to you. Some of the other things, going back to, the deck of cards, keeping your mind active, right? Crossword puzzles, something to keep the kids busy. Also think of, I use hard candy a lot as an example, and I call them sweet treats, but think of things that will bring you some joy. And you'll be surprised when you are stressed out and maybe even scared, possibly alone. You might be surprised what a peppermint candy or a Werther's candy, or in my case, I love ginger candies, right? What that will do to your mental state. So think of some sweet treats. Don't do chocolate. Okay. It's going to melt in the vehicle. It's going to be a hot mess. Hard candy is an easy one. Plus it has a long shelf life. Or if you like my mom's favorite was Ricola. Oh my gosh, that woman. I would buy those big double bags for her. I miss her. But think of some sweet treats. It's a mental thing. It also is good to include some. Now I have salt, pepper, and I have cayenne pepper. And I taught this back at Prepper Camp. You can even do a bottle of hot sauce because that has a very long shelf life. Even it doesn't need to be refrigerated. The capsium, the cayenne pepper, that stuff that makes the peppers hot, right? It is known to also satiate you. It gives your brain the feeling that your tummy is full. So if you run out of food or you have to stretch the food, a little dab of hot sauce or a couple, dinks of cayenne pepper, you'll be surprised at what that's going to do to satiate you. I also have in here some bungee cords. I have 2. I'm hoping, for me, if I'm in my truck, I have a whole bunch of ratchet straps. I got all kinds of stuff. If I can't get access to it, at least I've got a couple bungees in here. But if you're not like me and you don't have a pickup truck, okay, and you don't have ratchet straps, I need you to think of ways, whether it's rope. I do have also, where is my rope? I have 100 feet of rope in here. My light is right in the eyeballs. There it is. Oh, no, it's 50 feet. What do I got? 50 feet. And it's paracord. Okay. So if I have to make myself a temporary structure, I have some garbage bags. I do have the Mylar, as you saw earlier. If I had to rig something up to provide some level of cover, at least I have the paracord to do that. But those are the last 2 things. My knife is my friend. I'm not going to unsheath him, but as you can see here, I use a carabiner, which could also be used later, depending on what I'm going through. It could also be a way in which I can, cook this or use it separately. But yes, this is my big boy because I don't know what situation I'm going to be in or what I'm going to have to clear or cut down. All right. Last but not least, it goes back to what I was telling you to think medicinally, how, any allergies, any medications that are necessary, EpiPens, make sure. And then I do have pain relief. And this is huge because, especially my time in some third world countries, when, for instance, like Haiti, I spent 12 and a half weeks there after the earthquakes in 2010. And the water we couldn't drink, I couldn't eat anything that was even grown. It was very tough. And anti-diarrhea, your friend. If you're foraging and you think you picked something wrong or it upset your tummy because you're not used to using it or eating it, excuse me. Also, as a female, I highly suggest having some feminine products. And then, believe it or not, there's like 10 different cool uses for shower caps. So whenever I go to hotels, if they give you a shower cap, I never wear them, right? I haven't really used one ever. But they have a lot of amazing, cool little side resources, especially keeping things dry. Okay. And they have that elastic on them. Okay. So I've got a few of those in there as well. All right. Any questions about the bug out bag? Otherwise, we're going to switch gears. We're going to talk canning, preserving. We're going to do the 2 winners. I've got their names. And if you are interested, Emily, I think it was you that asked about the charcoal. If any of you are interested, I can get you the brand name. I'll run and grab my my other bug out bag, or we could just do another Thursday Night Live where we go through the bug out bag again. I know you guys loved when I did that back in, I'm going to say it was like 2022. We had a lot of fun. So I could do that again, and you'll get to see where my thoughts are with that, because this is just the vehicle. This is what is in my vehicle at all times. And the bug out bag's a lot different, right? That means you have to vacate your home. You're going to be gone for at least 3 days. That's an entirely different set of parameters to prepare for. Okay, so I saw some questions. What am I missing here? Oh, Emily, I lived in Florida. Oh, and you just moved back north. Okay. Yep, each place is different. Yeah, I'm going to have a lot of fun learning what those plants are. It's even the toads are different down here. I've had to, and as you can tell, like my eyes are not the best, right? Especially if it's something real tiny, I got to get real close. But there's certain toads down here that I can't let the dogs get around because they'll excrete a milky substance that is so toxic to the dogs that they'll die within 15 minutes. So there's a lot down here that I'm learning, and it'll take me some time, but it's fun. It's exciting. It's a challenge. Okay. So what was your, Danny, have another question. Okay. I want to can ground fish raw pack. My reason is because I want it to turn out kind of like when you empty a can of Spam. Okay. Everything I see about canned ground meat is pre-cooked and it turns out like spaghetti sauce meat. Could the raw pack method be safe for ground meat? Okay, let me get to the first part of the question. I want to make sure I understand you. Yes, you can raw pack ground fish because it's different than a ground meat. We wouldn't brown that and pack it. So it would have to be raw. You're looking for a Spam recipe. There's some really good Spam recipes out there, but I see how you want to use fish. You can turn that into a pate. There has to be some liquidity to it. You want it to be like thick enough for pate, but thin enough to be pourable. And I actually have some of those recipes in my ebook that just launched, Preserving for Your Pets. Everything in that pet book, we can eat ourselves. It's all food for humans that we are specifically catering to a dog or a cat. In your case, you sound like you want to make almost like a pate. Spam gets a lot of its texture, though, from an egg yolk. And I know there's a recipe out there for like pork spam. So it would be a little different for the fish. I haven't seen a fish recipe out there of that nature, but I know what you're saying. You don't want it to be the fillet. You want it ground. We can talk more about that too offline, because I want to make sure I understand what texture and flavor you're going for, because I don't usually ground my fish. So I hope I'm answering your question properly. Could the raw pack method be safe for ground meat? Yes, it is safe. The reason that we typically brown the meat first and then pack it in the jar, no water, no broth. See, I think where some people go wrong is they feel like they have to put water or broth on their ground meat, and then they wonder why it smells and has a texture like a dog food. You don't have to, that's a we dry pack fish and meat and some root crops. And we do so because we're relying on the temperature of the air, which is much hotter than the temperature of the water. Plus the water then doesn't degrade and ruin over time in storage the integrity of the food. So you can raw pack the ground meat. The problem is, and this is where you go right back to spam, when you don't brown it and you raw pack it, it comes out of the jar almost like spam or like homemade lunch meat, right? When you take it out of the double boiler and you push it through, and it's like it's like the shape of the metal, can. That's kind of what raw ground meat will do in a jar if you don't brown it first. The reason it's browned first is to keep the crumbles. So, I think, are you a member of my private Facebook group? It's called Canning, Dehydrating, and Long-Term Food Storage. I highly recommend, if you're watching, join my Facebook group. We have members from all over the world there, and there's some really fun recipes that get shared, tips and techniques. And you know what? Honestly, Danny, somebody might have already done that. And while I'm kind of fumbling my way through it and using math and science and working with, somebody might have already done it. So I would highly suggest joining the group. Be a great place to start. Okay. Thrive or Scapegoat. Do you know if it's safe to pressure can Vital wheat gluten dough? Okay. That's a good question and a loaded one. I don't know as if it's so much as, it's not so much is it unsafe? I guess the question is it even doable? I know a lot of individuals will bake breads in their jars, their canning jars, and pressure can them so the lid seals. Some will water bathe, and then they eat it within a year. I've seen excellent results. I personally have not tested it myself. And I'll still probably use my lab back in Michigan, until I find somebody down here. I have not gotten into the bread making or the dessert making like some have. So I really would not be able to answer clearly without doing it myself. My suggestion would be, if you want to do something with dough, wheat gluten dough. See, I would do the original Canning Rebels. I guarantee you there's somebody on there who has tried that. And that group is on Facebook. I would go there for an answer until I do that myself. Right now, the next book I'm working on is primarily geared around your heritage food and preservation skills. I love the candle making and the soap making and making your own vinegar or fire cider, making your own dough. Like I mill my own I mill my own berries to make my own flour. So it's things like that I'm working on right now. So I don't want to mislead you and say, yeah, I'll test that and get back to you. It's going to be a while for me. So I would head over to them over at the original Canning Rebels and start poking around in that group. They're amazing people, again, all over the world. Excuse me. And I would ask that same question in that group and see what kind of recipes and feedback you get. Sorry, I talk so much. Okay, like a log of fish meat that I can slice for sandwiches. Or yeah, you totally want that spam type texture. I'm loving that. And you're welcome. Yes, both of you. Thank you. Yes, thank you for asking, and you're welcome. I wish I had a better answer, but if I don't know the answer, I'm not going to blow smoke, right? I'm just going to be honest and tell you I haven't done it myself. I know others have, and I've seen them label their jar, and it's been like on the shelf for 18 months, and she's bringing out this amazing cornbread out of the jar, and it's still moist and beautiful, and she's slicing it up and serving it for dinner. I've seen it, I just haven't done it myself. So take a peek. They're good people. Melissa and I are friends. She's the admin over there. She's pretty awesome. And actually everyone in the group has been pretty darn awesome. All right, I'm checking out on Instagram. I don't see any comments. Okay, I just want to make sure I don't miss anyone's questions. Let's get into, because we're getting close to an hour here, let's get into the winner, 2 winners for the signed copy of Meals in a Jar and Beginner's Guide to Canning, as well as the 2026 Gardening and Canning Planner. All right, so we're picking 2 winners at random. For those of you that have not followed me before, you're just tuning in live, follow me at Canning Diva on all social media. Primarily right now, I'm doing 5 separate giveaways in the month of November. They are on Facebook and Instagram. All the instructions for the 5 different giveaways are there. And this is giveaway number 2. So I still have 3 others. I'm giving away a double burner outdoor Camp Chef stove to a lucky winner. Harvest Guard reusable canning lids and I have partnered up together. They're giving 100 reusable lids away to a lucky winner. We're going to announce that together live on Thursday night after Thanksgiving. I think that's December 4th. And what else? Oh, I'm giving 5 winners the opportunity to get my book, Preserving for Your Pets. So, yeah, you got to follow me on Facebook and Instagram to be a part of that. All right. So the first winner, all right, she was on Facebook. I hope I don't slaughter these names, guys. I say it with love. I will make a post. So if I screw it up, you'll see it in print. Tina Abner-Markham. She is our first winner of the book set with planner. And those will be signed and shipped out. So Tina, if you're watching or listening, shoot me a DM with your contact information so I can get that out to you in the post. All right, the second winner, all right, on Instagram. So I only have a first name, but I have her handle on Instagram. Again, I'm going to post this on both Facebook and Instagram after I'll probably post it tonight. So that way it's in print. Christina, but your handle on Instagram is Numbers Maven. Numbers Maven. So we have Christina and Tina. How cool did that work out? And this is all random number generated. I had lots of entries. And I'm so thankful to all of you. And I'm happy to gift both Christina and Tina the book set for the holidays, signed book set for the holidays. All right, let me save that. So congratulations to you too. Any other questions before we sign off here? I appreciate all of you for tuning in on all platforms. I'm still getting used to the hang of thing. I'm loving StreamYard though. Hey, there's Melissa. I think her ears were burning. She heard us talking about her. Hey, lady, good to see you. And thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you'll get some new group members because we've got some really good questions and a couple I couldn't answer. So I'm sending them your way. But I thank you guys so much. I thank you for taking time out with me on your Thursday evenings. If you missed it, it'll be recorded and posted. And then, of course, tune in after Thanksgiving for another fun Thursday night live. See ya.